Hi, it's Gadget UK here again. We've got a surprising, a surprise package here from Dennis Vandenbroek here. So I'll just carefully see if I can open this and we'll see what's inside. He wanted me to open it on camera because he thinks I'm going to be surprised. Well, I'm going to be surprised no matter what, 'cause I don't know what's been sent to me. Yeah, I'm going to try and turn this around because I obviously don't want to share the labels and things on the side of it. So not only is Dennis a really nice guy, he works for Guerrilla Games, who you might remember are the developers behind Horizon Zero Dawn on the PlayStation 4. It's a game I only just recently purchased, actually. I've got to get into it, but I do know from the reviews and friends I've talked to about that game that it's a really, really, really good game. It won lots of awards and things, I think. I believe Dennis did some of the level design for some of the game as well, so it's not every day you get to know and speak to a guy that develops AAA titles, so yeah, that's impressive stuff. Dennis has also got a YouTube channel, as you can see. I'll post some links down below and above to those, and his Twitter profile as well. He's certainly somebody who you should be following, so you should be following him on Twitter, and if you're not already supporting him and subscribing to him on YouTube, you really should do. I think I'll just hold that piece of jiffy bag on there as I try and open this. I think it's really well taped, this. I'm not sure how to get into it. There we go, we're nearly there. It's just I'm going to tear into this, I think. I probably won't be reusing the box. Here we go, so read first. I really hope this made it in one piece, as I thank you for both the SHA2 chip and all the effort you've put in helping the community. I'm sending a small package. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. Dennis previously sent me a PC Engine CD-ROM, actually, so you'll have seen that on my channel before. Yeah, I love that CD-ROM too. It came out like new. With regards to the SHA2 chip here, what he's talking about, I'll post a link, check up in the description above and the comments below, a link to his latest video. He had a 32X, a Sega 32X, you know, for the Mega Drive, and it had suffered some sort of impact damage. Someone had stomped on it or something, or it had something heavy dropped on it. And as a result, one of the SHA2 processors on there had all its pins sheared off on one side. And he tried to Dremel into it, you know, and reattach the pins there, but they'd actually, you know, they'd not just come off the PCB, they'd come off the actual package itself. So I had one of those as a spare. I forgot who it was, Electronash. Electronash pointed me out to a place you could buy spare SHA2 chips, and I'd already had some of those in stock. So I sent one of those off to Dennis, and he installed it, you know, removed the old one, fit the new one, and it works fine. He managed to salvage a 32X, so yeah, that's a really good video, check that out. I have to say, I'm sorry up front, please read the second letter after checking the contents. Also, I hope my handwriting is a bit decipherable, but I want this to be more personal and fitting for a retro channel. Really hope you like the contents. Thanks for all the help, Dennis. Thank you very much, Dennis. I'm not sure what you've sent yet, but we'll find out. And then this one here, read after. Okay. So let's move the bubble wrap. Oh my goodness, what on earth's this? What's that? Just a bit of card, I think. It looks like it could be a Nomad. I think. Half a Nomad. Wow, that's amazing. I'm super excited to get this because this was something I've been looking for a while, actually, and they tend to be going ridiculous prices actually on the eBay at the moment. Let's just put that to the side. What on earth's this? Is this the screen for it, maybe, I think? Or a replacement screen or something, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not doing a very good job of carefully opening this. I'm probably going to damage something. But yeah, that is a screen. I'm guessing it's perhaps... Well, I'm guessing that's a replacement screen because this kind of looks nice and new. You know, that doesn't look like something you would have in... the original. Yeah, I think that's a replacement screen. Could be wrong. Might not be for this system. It could be something else. Let's just carefully put that to the side. I'm shocked already. This is absolutely amazing. This is like Christmas present. So just carefully take the contents out of there. Ah, this is the some of the 3D. He's done some 3D printing. Look, he made some mounts here himself. This is another thing, you know, go check out his channel again. I'll post some links above and below. He's produced these, I think these are exactly the same, I think he's just sent me 2 of them, to mount an alternative screen, and it fits perfectly within the Nomad there. So yeah, really excited to have a play with this. And what's this? Oh, he's even sent a cap kit. This is insane. Oh my god, I'm just so grateful. I can't believe what you've sent here. And is that a new screen thing as well? He sent another one of those as well. I've got everything I need here, I think. Well, assuming there's another half of the Nomad here. Everything I need, including I've got a DC jack. That might be the old one, I think. Maybe some damage has occurred to that. Don't know, but yeah, I think I've got everything I need here to get up and running. I think that's for the the LCD screen, isn't it? It must be one of those ones that accepts composite. So, you know, you plug that to that little board and you've got a composite connection there, and you can just chop the wire off and solder it somewhere onto the Nomad. Wow, this is amazing, absolutely amazing. Yeah, this is the other half of the Nomad, isn't it? So, oh, ouch. Got some damage down here, look. So yeah, it's going to be certainly a challenging repair, I think, by the looks of things. Right, let's have a look at the... yeah, it's in very good condition, really. I mean, it's got a little scuff there, but, you know, these things get totally beaten up and dropped and thrown around. And bear in mind, I've got a replacement screen protector that he sent with this, for this, so... It's going to be amazing if I can get this up and working. Wow. So let's read the after parts. Yeah, I hope the Nomad is a pleasant surprise. It is. Absolutely amazed. This is absolutely fantastic. I am just so blown away. As you may have seen, it's got quite some issues. I got this in a lot and never got around to it. I own more Nomads than I'll ever need, and figured after my own successes with the LCD bracket, so that's the 3D one, you saw printed, 3D printed one, why not share the joy? I included almost all needed components: new LCD, power jack, cap kit, LCD bracket, included 2. Power jack, it says previous owner removed it. It will still be a challenge. Some pads are ripped, there's no inverter for the screen, hence the included LCD, and worst is the power voltage regulator, or the lack thereof. I also had no spare power button, but you can use the one from a Game Gear. I've got a spare Game Gear, so that's not a problem. And some screws are missing. PS, I'll soon have a 3D printed battery pack too. I have to admit, I'm in a bit of shock still. I think this is the best gift anybody's sent me in the past. You know, I don't think I've ever had a gift this good, really, because they're quite expensive, these. Like I say, you'll pay £100-ish for something like this in this state. Just inspecting around here, you can see I can smell it actually. Something's been melting, burning electronics smell. So yeah, we've got, looks like it says TR201. We've got a transistor just gone there, and all the pads have gone. I guess that's what he means by the regulation stuff, because I think the power, yeah, the DC power jack would have been on there. So yeah, it's some damage has occurred around there. That cap obviously needs swapping in. And obviously, you know, some of the caps are missing. You know, someone's had a go at, perhaps the person did it before Dennis, or maybe Dennis removed some of the leaking ones, I don't know. But there are a few caps here, as you can see, that have been removed, but the majority of them are still there. There's a few here removed. But we've got that cap kit as well. That's just amazing. I can't believe he would go to that level. I'd be shocked just to get this on its own. Never named the replacement screen, his mounting bracket, a cap kit, and a new front for the screen as well. It's just amazing. I can't wait to get going on this, actually. I'm tempted to just stop everything else I'm doing and have a look at this now, see if I can make any progress. There's going to be some challenges there, not necessarily just dealing with the damage here, but understanding, you know, if we need to mod this, I don't know, somehow just to get 5 volts in there to test it, I might need to do that, get the bench power supply and connect 5 volts up somewhere, because we're missing some stuff here. We're missing transistor. I don't know what transistor was on there, what the part number is. I don't know where the pads have gone or where they're supposed to go. So there will be some challenges, but yeah, nothing's impossible. I think what I might do first is unscrew this board, you know, detach the few things and inspect it on both sides super close. Maybe just start work on this, remove this cap, have a look around here, clean up a little bit, clean up the solder off these pads here, maybe do the recap on this board, and just see what state that board is in at that point. I guess then, you know, we could inspect this board. I'm guessing this has got some of the main processors, although they might be under the other one, actually, the other board. Have a look at this, see what's on this board, do any caps need replacing on this one. Maybe try and find somewhere to feed 5 volts and then, I don't know, connect it up and give it a try. I mean, you can see it's got the original screen on there. I don't know whether that's still attached properly, whether it's just been pressed back on or what. I think you can get video out of these, can't you? Is it there? Is that a standard AV connection? So that might just help us be able to diagnose what's going on. So this is the Game Gear power board here. This was a donation as well. I'll stick his name up there. I'm useless at remembering names. I think it was Daniel Vieira. So if we get this board out of here. Now this Game Gear could not be salvaged. I'll probably still upload the video, I think. But there's a lot of trace damage. The corrosion to the actual board underneath the CPU and the RAM on the Game Gear, it's just gone. Lots of traces gone. And just because of the nature of where those tracks have damaged and have literally come out of position, you know, they've come out off the board totally. Let's see if I can just get that off. It's just stuck on there, isn't it? Means that you can't easily fix it. You'd need an awful lot of wires. It'd just be an absolute mess, and it needs a new screen anyway. So I'm tempted to use it as some parts. You know, we can borrow the switch off here. So he did say that this probably would fit. Let's give that a try. Yeah, I don't think you can see this. If you look at that, that will fit perfectly. Once it's inside there, it will work exactly the same. So it's nice they seem to use the same part, or at least you know, a part that would fit from the Game Gear. So yeah, thank you very, very much, Dennis. This is just brilliant. The generosity here is amazing. It really is. I think what we'll do is we'll just get the screws out of this board, get this board out, and just have a quick look at it. Now, bear in mind, if we don't have a problem connecting the screen, we may have after I've taken this out. But you know, the screen is going to be replaced anyway. So once I've got those screws out, it just lifts out. There's a few things to disconnect. You know, you disconnect this little connector there, and I think there was one. Where's the other one? I can't see the other one now. Yeah, and there was one over here. Yeah, and there was one over here. But once you've disconnected those, you know, the board and the screen come out together like that. So yeah, I mean, it is currently still joined there. It's kind of one of those hot bar things. So you could drag a solder line across there to try and rejoin that up if you had lines down the screen. I might just try that anyway, just out of interest to see whether this display will work at all. Well, look at this here. What's this? This has been torn off here. Yeah, we've got a torn. Don't know if you can see that we've got a torn ribbon there. I'm not sure where that's supposed to go. Yeah, I think what's happened here, the person who originally owned this screen before Dennis, they've torn off the. You know, there's a split here. Can you see? A split on the corner of the screen ribbon there. So the old screen needs to come off anyway. So yeah, I might do that first. There's no point even leaving it on. In order to do that, yeah, it looks like you can just literally peel it off here, actually, a bit like you do with the Game Gears when you're doing a McWill mod or something like that. Well, it's one of these where it's taped on the bottom. Look, can you see this down here? Yeah, it's just like they do with the Game Gears, actually. Put some tape on the other side just to hold, you know, and support the ribbon. But I think there's nothing lost by detaching this, because as I say, the ribbon's damaged. I'm not going to be able to repair that. Yeah, the ribbon's just breaking here, I think. Just pull that back a bit. You know, it's split, there's a bit still stuck on there. You can go over the little pads later with some flux and desolder braid. You know, we can just get some flux and desolder braid, clean those up, get rid of that bit off there as well. I can probably just pull that off now if I'm careful. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I feel a bit happier about that already just because it looks better. They're out of the way. And we can work on this board now. I think that's what I'm going to do. This cap here doesn't kind of look standard. Can you see that? I don't know. I think that's a bodge. Someone stuck that on there and then tried to glue it down or something, I think. It might be standard, I don't know. It just kind of doesn't look it. So yeah, I'm going to clean up with some IPA and cotton buds first on both sides, and just see what I see, you know, see what we need to do. So a quick look on Super Macro. You can see on this potentiometer here, the solid points are not good. We've got lots of flux, so we can reflow those, clean that up. I'll perhaps do that first, I think. Yeah, the buttons here look okay, and then as we go further up here, this is the underside of where the power connector goes. So the connections there are still, that's good, so we can get the DC jack on. But before we do that, obviously we need to clean all this up, because you know, someone's been tinkering around there. So yeah, again, I'll reflow one or two of these things, clean off all the flux, put the power socket on, once I've checked the other side as well, because I want to see where the traces are on the other side there. The middle of the board's not too bad. We've got a dry joint there, can you see that? That's on the interconnect that goes to the other side of the shell, actually. It is. Yeah, if you look at that from various angles, there's hardly any solder on that at all, that pin. So that needs reflowing. You never know, that could have been the original fault with this. Clean off some of the flux here. This is just from manufacturer, I think. Again, some dirty marks to clean and inspect here. I'll inspect the connections here that go to the AV connector, but they look okay. Might just need reflowing. Pads look okay here. And again, just down here, some cleanup with some IPA. I might just temporarily remove this. I've got to see if I can find any photos or the service manual for this. Again, lots of flux and stuff around there that needs cleaning off. Probably from manufacturer, I would think. Yeah, so on the other side of the board, some flux there needs cleaning off. Some of these caps look okay. I mean, I will swap them out, but we'll deal with the ones that are missing first. I think we've got a pad missing there, have we? I can't tell. Yeah, I think we have. So, yeah, I'll need to deal with that and get a cap back on there. Get caps back in here, and I'll mark the tops of those just so we know those are brand new ones. One here missing. One there missing. As I say, I'll clean up this ribbon here with some flux and desolder braid as well. That chip's looking okay. Down here where the headphone output is, I think, yeah, cap's missing here. Gonna get pad missing, so I'll deal with those, mark them up so we know we've swapped those ones. That one. Yeah, it looks okay. I can't see if there's a bit of corrosion. There might be a bit of corrosion around that. It's hard to see from here. And then up this side here, like I say, I'll remove the cap and then just see what we can see here to try and work out where the pads and things were, and see if we can work out what component went on here. Cap here, again, some of these, look, you see that's lifted. Some of the pads are floating, so one trick you can do is just get a bit of epoxy and stick it underneath the pad there, and then flap the pads down. Super glue works as well, but doesn't hold as well as epoxy. And then just clean up, get the power socket back on. As I said, the pads look okay here, so there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to fit that back on. So we'll start with the ribbon here. I've just taped that copper flap there, just temporarily. It's going to flip back up, but I can stick it back down just as I do the work here. Just get a little bit of flux on here. Super exciting to be working on one of these actually, and it's bank holiday here this weekend, so I've got a few days I can spend on this now. I was going to try and take a break this weekend, but yeah, I'm not that excited to look at this. I should just disconnect that for the moment, really, because it's just going to get in the way. But if we just carefully drag over those like that, hopefully you can see they're coming up nice and clean. Not too long, because they're very thin pads, you know, they're not going to be super well adhered to the PCB there, but nevertheless you can see those are cleaning up nicely. So I'll just clean off the flux there, just very gently. But hopefully you can see that's looking a lot cleaner now. There we go, that's that bit done. I think the next thing I'm going to do is just clean off these bits of solder off these pads. Similar thing, just get a little bit of flux onto the pads here and just remove it with the braid there. What we're trying to do is just, you know, see what state the pads are in and remove the solder ready for fitting a new cap. Yeah, just carefully, let's say, just heat the solder braid on the pad super carefully, because some of these are going to be loose. This one looks okay, I think. So on this side I've cleaned up all the pads here, got all the solder off, cleaned up with desolder braid and flux. Then use some IPA, you know, clean them up super clean. We got another pad missing somewhere. Where's it gone? Yeah, down here we had a pad missing on one side. The other one was just barely hanging on. I forget which way around it was. So we've lost a pad on either side of those. But yeah, you can see I've cleaned up, removed the cap here. You know, this is charred, the PCB here. I need to see if I can work out what TR201 is, actually, if I'm going to fit a replacement there somehow. I mean, there's no pads, but I can bodge one on somewhere and join it up with wires. So I think the next thing I'm going to do is, well, clean the underside, because the underside's got flux and mucky marks and things all over there. But yeah, once I've done that, and I'll reflow yeah, that pot there, because that just looks crusty as anything. Once I've done that, I'm just going to start fitting the caps, I think. So as you can see, that side of the board is clean. You're not going to be able to see the meter very well, so I'm going to move it along a little bit like that. So I've got it on diode test mode here, which does continuity as well in my case with my meter. And you can see this diode here. It's marked A on one side, K on the other. So from anode to cathode, nothing. You see, there's no reading there. Swap it around the other way. I'd expect between sort of 470 and 5 something. There you go, 550. So that diode is okay. We're just checking we haven't got a short there primarily. So here you've got FB something or other. I think that's a ferrite bead. It's probably going to act as a fuse. That's a short. That's correct. Any of these components marked C here, that's C something, C202. We're just checking to make sure we've not got shorts across any of them. There's another cap down there, that's okay, and a few caps down here. Oh, it might be resistors there, these are resistors. Let's just put it on resistance mode. Yeah, that's a 10k or something. There's a cap across that, I think, because it's going up. What's that one there? Is that a resistor? I think that's a resistor as well. Same thing, going up. So those are okay. You know, we've not got shorts or anything. I guess that's going to be a 4K7 or something like that. It's showing 4.1K. So yeah, all the components around there are okay. The connections here for the power socket are okay, but on this side, you know, it's hard to tell. Can you see that? It's hard to tell if there's anything left of the connections on there. So what I will have to do is see where they go on this side. When I've mounted it on, do some connectivity tests from the 3 points underneath to the places they go on this side. One of them might not do. It might just be the ground and the positive, and I don't know. It might just only be one of the connections on this side. It depends how it's wired. But can you see, you know, you lose the plating off the top sometimes when these are removed, and I think that's what's happened. So we might need to do something there. But I'm going to do that next, I think, despite the fact we're missing the Regulator here, whatever it is, the TR201. We're not going to be using that effectively, but I'll stick it on anyway, just so it's on the board. So another update, as you can see, the board is looking very clean on both sides. There's the odd bit of flux, but I've removed most of the issues now. Resoldered the connector there, that's looking good. Not the connector, but the pot. The next thing we're going to do is get the caps on, but as you can see, I've got the power socket on here. One thing you can do with these is just clean the spade at the bottom, you know, the ground connect. Well, it might not be ground on these, I can't remember which way the polarity is, but the spade connector, the flat bit, scratch away at it, and from the reverse you can actually bend it back upwards a bit if it's not making a very good fit. And I've tested that on my Mega Drive power connector, and it works okay. It fits, I get connectivity coming through. So we've got quite large blobs of solder here, but nevertheless that's what you need, because let's say some of the through plating. So I've skipped over showing you me fitting a lot of these. Obviously what I've done is I've marked up the ones that were missing. I've fitted with the red dot there. So you can see there was an example here where one of the pads was missing, and all I did is, if you can see that, scratch off a little bit of the trace where, you know, that joined the pad that was missing, and then I used a single piece of kynar and just joined it over there, you know, so it's making a pretty good connection. There are 2 more caps to do. I'm going to show you those in a sec, because these are a bit more fiddly. You can see I've scratched off a little bit of the trace here that goes to the pad's gone. There's different techniques you can use. What you can do is do what RetroGameRevival does, and cut a piece of copper tape, stick it down, epoxy it, or super glue it down or something, and then, you know, try and join to the trace with a bit of kynar. But it probably won't hold, so I'm just going to do the similar thing I did with the other one, which, you know, solder it on this side and then have a single piece of kynar coming across the little gap there to hold it and support it onto the trace there. And it's the similar thing over here. I think that, yeah, there's a bit of copper exposed here, pad completely missing, so I'll solder it on this side and a little piece of kynar across the trace there. And then I think that's that board sort of done for the moment. Bear in mind we're missing the transistor there, so the way I would try and power something like this actually is to connect up the other board, you know, via this ribbon here. Look at the cart pin out, find where there's 5 volts on the cart pin out, attach a wire somewhere. I can do some connectivity test then from the cart slot, from the 5-volt pin to somewhere around here, and we'll find where 5 volts is on this PCB perhaps, and attach a wire coming off. I'll attach a ground wire and I'll just connect it up to the bench power supply. The other thing we need to do, obviously, we'll clean up these little pads here with IPA as well as a final thing, get the buttons back in and stick this back in the case, and then I need to work out how you do the composite mod. I'm guessing there's just a single connection somewhere from somewhere on one of the boards here that goes to the video board there, you know, the little composite mod, you know, composite LCD, and we could, in theory, you then connect it up to the bench power supply, have it all sort of exposed a little bit, and just see if there's any life. So I'll try and show you this, but I mean, I've covered this before. You want to check out my recap of recapping on the Mega CD, because that's perhaps a good example video to watch. You need to get solder and flux onto the end of the iron here. Just maybe hold it down very carefully. This is the thing. It will move around. Some people heat the pad like this. In fact, we'll do it that way. Some people put some solder on the pad and then introduce the cap. Just move it forwards a little bit until you're in the right position. What I would then do is get a little bit of flux on there and reflow it, but you need to make sure the pad is correct on either side. You know, you can see that's well misaligned there. I mean, the stripe is not straight on the can anyway, but yeah, it's a bit fiddly to do on camera. So that's the other side flowed. You can't quite see it. There's a copper little bit here and then a little tab coming out of the cap there. So, you know, extend a little bit of kynar like that. You know, bend it slightly so that you can, you know, get it into position a bit easier. I'll see if I can do this on camera, but it's not going to be easy. We'll try and get a bit of solder onto the copper point down there first. Yeah, there we go. I think we've done it. And then just try and, let's say, hold this in place and try and get it to join on both points. If I can pull it back a little bit. So I'll get it onto the, yeah, get it onto the cap. Yeah, it's on the cap. And get it onto the PCB. It's easier said than done. And it's certainly easier doing it off camera than on camera. I think that's it. I'll just inspect that, do a connectivity test and cut the extra off. Yeah, there we go. I don't even know whether you can see that, but there is a piece of kynar joined across the, you know, from the point there exposed to the edge of the cap there. It's also useful sometimes when you do things like this, you've got dodgy caps, to understand what part of the circuit that's in. This is in the audio coupling section, and the reason I know that is because you've got left and right audio. You're right next to the jack, the 3.5mm sound out, the volume, and there's 2 of these exactly the same size here, so it's going to be left and right audio, coupling the audio. So if we have a problem with audio, we know where to look. And where you can, use the PCB to your advantage. So you can see the connection on this point is just going to be on the very corner of that pad. And sorry it's wobbling here, but if I just rotate the camera around, you might just be able to see I was able to scratch off the bit of the trace here, and I can join up the other tab straight to the trace that would have gone to where the pad was. So we'll just clean up the pads and things here. I've wiped the contacts on the PCB just gently with some IPA. You've got to be careful with the ones on the PCB because they've got like a carbonised surface as well. Just wipe them really gently. We just now need to mount this the right way around. I'm guessing it goes this way. Yeah, I think it does. Just feed up the speaker cable here. Make sure it's still connected. It feels a bit loose there. And just gradually ease the board back into position. Bear in mind, we've not got a screen at the moment, but I'm not bothered about that. The other thing I was thinking, if we can power this, if the other board's okay, I'll have a look at that now, inspect the board with the processor and all that sort of stuff on it, the main ASICs. If that board's okay, I'll work out where the 5 volts is, we'll try and power this, and we'll see if we can use the AV socket actually. That might be a good thing to do. So bear in mind, you need the screen in there in order that some of the screws go through, you know, but I think there's 3 or 4 screws there to hold it, so you can very gently use the buttons here if you wanted to test it this way. So I think what I'll do next is remove the one screw holding the shielding and have a look at the state of this board just before I try and work out some way to power this up. So we undid the 2 screws that were holding this on, and the flap just pops out like that. There was only 1 screw holding the shielding in here, but they seem to be the same size screws as in a Game Gear, so that faulty Game Gear that I've got to use as parts, we can make use of, you know, to replace some of the screws in this to hold this board back in properly. Is there a switch there? There's something there, I don't know what that is, a piece of plastic. It doesn't seem to want to come out. I guess it's because the connectors are here, so you might have to sort of pull it down and out at the same time, or something like that, I don't know. Feels quite hard to get that out of there, to be fair. What you've got to do there is lift this plastic edge up just a little bit, not too far, you'll break it, and then the board comes out, you know, because it catches on that there. But as you can see, it looks okay, this. There are 4 more SMD caps on here, and I will replace all the remaining caps on this at some point. I just want to just see what state this is in more than anything. So you can see you've got the Z80 down here. It's the quad flat pack type version of that. Your main crystal here, 68,000 processor, 8 MHz, and then your main ASIC here, which I'm guessing is probably going to be similar to, if not identical to, some of the ones you get on the Model 2, where you've got almost, you know, like a single chip type solution, and then you've got a couple of what look like maybe RAMs or something on the back here, and that one there as well. So yeah, the ribbon looks okay. PCB looks okay. So as I said, what I'm going to do now is work out where 5 volts is, and you know what a good easy way of doing that is just have a measure around on here, look at the pin out of the PLCC version of the 68,000, look for the VCC pin, that's where our 5 volts is, and then maybe measure along the cart slot here and just find where we get connectivity, and I'll just trail off a wire for that and one for ground, and I'll connect that up to the bench power supply. We'll connect up the AV cable, plug it in, and just see what happens, I think. So the first page I landed on there was the Neo Geo wiki actually. VCC is on pin 14. So we're on continuity. It goes 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So pin 14 there, if I just test on top of this cap, because I'm suspecting, hang on, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Yeah, we've got joined the top of that cap there. So pin 14 here, VCC, that cap is 5 volts. And if we then measure on the cart here, the second pin from the bottom there, that's 5 volts. And you might not be able to see this if I just scroll down a little bit. The second pin from the top there, that's 5 volts. So I can solder a wire just on this side, just near the point there, or on the underside of the PCB for that. And the ground should be super easy as well, because this is all going to be ground. This mates with the shielding. So if you measure from one of those there, the end pin's ground, and the end pin's ground. So it's super easy to go ground VCC or ground VCC with a wire on the underside. So I'm going to do that, try and route it out the cart slot just for the moment. I'll plug a cart in, we'll connect it all up, connect it to the bench power supply. I'll have to stick in my EverDrive, because that's the only thing I've got, I think, that'll boot. Oh, in fact, I've got an NTSC cart. I've got Turtles, so we can plug that in and give it a try and see what happens with the AV cable. So I've connected up the ribbon there. We've got our ground and VCC wires here. I'm not just going to leave it floating like that. I'll have it on the ESD mat, and I'll have this PCB just hanging over like that. That's the way I'm going to test it. But the next thing we need to know is which way to put the cart in, because that's critical. We don't want to do any further damage to this. So if I look at this shell here, this is the way this would be. So this would be on the back like that. So as you can see, you know, you've got a round edge here. So the cart would go that way, like that. So we just need to be mindful of that. And in fact, based on that, I'm going to stick this in now, just so that I don't actually get it in the wrong way later. Is that in? Yeah, that went in really easy. Bit of a loose slot, that. Yeah, that's it. That's in. So as I say, we'll carefully flip this over. I'll stick it on the SD mat, connect it to the bench power supply, connect it to the AV lead, and let's go and plug it in. So we're all connected up here. Got the bench power supply. I've just powered it on initially without connecting it to the Nomad here. Got it to 5 volts, measured it on my meter just to be sure. Double checked the connections here, ground on the outside, +5 on the pin next to it. Mark II AV cable plugged in. So I'll point you at the screen, let's switch it on. So it might not work, but let's just give it a try. Oh yes, that's looking sweet already. I'm amazed actually, I thought that the cart would be a bad connection, you know. See if we get any sound. Looking good. Oh my god, we've got sound as well. I think it's working actually. Yeah, got the typical jail bars there, but I think that's fine. I don't remember the sound sounded exactly like that. I don't know. But you see, I use a Model 1 quite a bit, you know, Mark 1. Now, the interesting thing is there's a controller port on here, I think. Yeah, there is, because that was what was snagging at the back, do you remember? So I'm going to just plug in my control pad here. I'll have to power cycle it, because I don't want to do it while it's on, because I'm going to need to move the board slightly to do that. But let's just connect to my own power pad, you know, control pad, not power pad. I don't know what I'm talking about here, control pad. Right, switch it back on, and we'll have a go with that. Let's see if I can show you. It's a bit dusty actually, in fact it's very dusty. We're just going to use this stick here. So let me just hit start. Probably going to wait for the title screen to actually come up. Yeah, that's interesting, my controller's not doing anything. So I've flipped it over. Let's try the buttons on the actual unit itself. Yeah, I hit start, it came straight up there, so yeah, it's going to be fiddly to do this, but it is working. Sweet. I'm glad I've left one of my carts as Genesis. Actually, it's helped testing this. I mean, I've got the EverDrive, but I didn't want to just stick the EverDrive straight in. This goes to show, though, that you can do a 5-volt mod to these. You don't need to use the regulation on board. And I might do that. I don't know. I might just modify it so 5 volts just goes straight in. Unless I can find out information about that transistor. Or regulator. It might not be a transistor, it says TR something on the board, but it could be some sort of regulator. But I mean, we could do some further sort of reverse engineering, really try and follow back the 5-volt rail now. Now we know where it is on the digital board. Well, they're both digital boards to a degree, but you know what I mean, the board with the CPU and everything on. We can backtrack and try and trace where that goes, where it comes from, where it originates. Anyway, I'd just like to give a really special thanks to Dennis, actually. This is just amazing. This has made my weekend, it really has. It's made my year. It's amazing the generosity of some people. Thank you very, very much. In the next part, I think I'll follow up by, you know, doing some of the things we talked about here, trying to work out what to do about the 5-volt side of things, you know, the power side of it. And we'll fit the new screen, you know, use Dennis's new 3D printed fit in there, try and get it absolutely perfect, clean it all up, and give it a full test at the end. I do hope you found the video interesting. Please like, share and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video.